Welcome to the podcast.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the British Accent Podcast. I'm Emma, and I'm here once again with my co-host, James. Today's topic is one that sounds simple, but it's actually one of the most important parts of speaking English politely and naturally. How to say thank you, sorry, and excuse me in different ways.
That's right, Emma. Many English learners already know these three words: thank you, sorry, and excuse me. But what they might not know is how many ways these phrases can be used depending on the situation. For example, saying thanks to a friend is totally fine, but when you're in a formal situation, like talking to your teacher or someone you don't know well, you might say thank you very much, or I really appreciate it. So, tone and context matter a lot.
Exactly, and the same goes for sorry. There's a big difference between saying oops, sorry, when you bump into someone by accident, and saying I'm really sorry when you make a mistake or hurt someone's feelings. Each word can carry a different meaning depending on how it's said and the situation you're in.
Right, so in today's episode, we'll go through these three expressions one by one: thank you, sorry, and excuse me, and we'll show you how to use them naturally in everyday conversations, both in casual and polite situations. So, if you've ever wondered what's the best way to sound polite, kind, and natural in English, this episode will help you a lot.
Let's start with the first one, thank you. It's one of the first English phrases we learn, but people often don't realize how many variations there are. For example, if your friend gives you something, you can simply say, thanks. It's short, friendly, and natural. You can even say, thanks a lot, if you want to sound a bit warmer. But if you want to show deeper gratitude, you can say, thank you so much, or I really appreciate it.
That's a great point, Emma. And pronunciation can also change how polite or sincere you sound. When you say, thanks, with a cheerful tone, it sounds casual and friendly. But when you say, thank you very much, with a calm, respectful tone, it sounds more formal. For example, if you're in a restaurant and the waiter brings your food, you can smile and say, thank you very much. But with friends, you might just say, thanks, mate, or cheers.
Oh yes, cheers. That's a very British way to say thank you in casual situations. You'll often hear people in the UK say, cheers, when someone holds a door open or hands them something. It's friendly, relaxed, and perfectly polite in everyday life. So, depending on who you're speaking to, you can choose between thanks, thank you very much, I really appreciate it, or even cheers.
And don't forget body language. When you say thank you, smiling makes a big difference. It shows sincerity and warmth. Sometimes, English speakers even nod slightly when they say thanks or thank you. It's a small gesture, but it communicates politeness.
That's so true. Now, let's move on to the next word, sorry. It's one of the most powerful words in English, and it can mean many things. You can use it to apologize for mistakes, to show sympathy, or even to get someone's attention politely. For example, if you accidentally bump into someone, you might say, oh, sorry, or I'm so sorry. But if you're apologizing for being late to a meeting, you might say, I'm really sorry I'm late, or I apologize for the delay.
And sometimes, sorry can even be used to express sympathy, like when someone tells you something sad. For example, if your friend says, I lost my wallet, you might respond, oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. It doesn't mean you did anything wrong, it's just a polite way to show empathy and care.
Exactly. And here's something that many learners might find interesting. British people tend to say, sorry, quite often, even when they're not really at fault. For example, if two people bump into each other by accident, both might say, sorry, even though it's no one's fault. It's just a way to be polite and keep things friendly.
Yes, that's such a British habit. Sometimes we even say, sorry, when we didn't hear something. For example, if someone says something quietly, you can politely say, sorry, instead of, what? That little word makes your response sound gentle and polite.
That's a really good example. Sorry is such a common, polite way to ask someone to repeat something. So, When you're in a conversation and you don't catch what the other person said, just say, sorry. Or, I'm sorry. Could you repeat that please? Instead of, what? Because that might sound too direct or rude.
Right, it's all about tone and politeness. Now let's talk about the last phrase, excuse me. This one is also very useful, and it can mean a few different things depending on the situation. For example, if you want to get someone's attention, maybe in a restaurant when you want to call the waiter, you can say, excuse me. It's polite and respectful.
Yes, and you can also say, excuse me, if you need to pass by someone in a crowded place. For example, if you're on a bus and you need to get off, you can say, excuse me, can I get through, please? It's much more polite than just saying, move, or pushing past someone.
And don't forget, excuse me, can also be used when you want to interrupt politely. For example, if two people are talking and you need to ask something, you can say, excuse me, may I ask a question? Or, excuse me, could I speak with you for a moment? It shows respect and good manners.
That's a great point. And here's one more thing. Sometimes learners confuse sorry and excuse me. The difference is that sorry is used when you've already done something wrong or by accident, while excuse me is used before you do something, like interrupting or passing by. So, sorry is for the past, and excuse me is for the present or future.
Exactly. For example, if you bump into someone, you say, sorry. But if you need to walk past someone, you say, excuse me. That's an easy way to remember it.
Perfect. And one final note. These small, polite expressions are so important in English culture. Saying thank you, sorry, and excuse me not only makes your English sound natural, but it also helps you connect better with people. Politeness shows respect, and people will always respond more kindly when you use these words sincerely.
Absolutely. And even if your English isn't perfect yet, using these polite words correctly will make people appreciate your effort and feel comfortable talking with you. It's one of the easiest ways to make a good impression when you're learning and speaking English.
Let's go a bit deeper with some real-life examples, because that's where learners can really understand how these words sound in natural conversation.
Great idea. So let's imagine this situation. You're in a cafe, and the waiter brings your coffee. You can smile and say, thank you so much. If you want to sound friendly and relaxed, you can say, thanks a lot, or even, cheers, if you're in the UK. Each one sounds natural, but they have slightly different tones.
Yes, exactly. Thank you so much sounds polite and warm, while thanks sounds casual and friendly. And if you add body language, like eye contact or a small smile, your message feels more sincere. Politeness isn't only in words, it's also in how you say them.
Right, and let's look at another example. Imagine someone holds the door open for you. You could just say, thanks, but if you want to show more gratitude, you can say, that's very kind of you, thank you. It's small details like that make your English sound more natural and thoughtful.
Exactly. And another useful expression when saying thank you is, I really appreciate it. For example, if your friend helps you with your homework, you can say, thanks, I really appreciate your help. It sounds very genuine and warm, a perfect phrase to express deeper gratitude.
That's one of my favorites. And learners should also know about the informal ones too. You can say, thanks a million, or thanks so much. Both sound cheerful and friendly. But remember, you don't need to exaggerate. Just sound natural and honest.
Now, let's move back to sorry. One of the most common mistakes learners make is saying it too quickly or too flatly. For example, if you say, sorry, with no feeling, it might sound cold or even sarcastic. But if you say, oh, I'm so sorry, with a soft, sincere tone, it sounds much better.
Yes, tone makes a big difference. In English, we often use intonation to show emotion. For example, if you're late to meet a friend, you can say, I'm really sorry I'm late. The traffic was terrible. You can hear the kindness in that tone. It shows you care.
That's right. And you can also use, I apologize, in formal situations. For example, in an email to your boss or teacher, you can write, I apologize for the delay in responding. It's a bit more formal than just, sorry, but it's still polite.
Yes, and I apologize is great for writing or business situations. But in everyday conversation, I'm sorry is enough. Just remember to sound kind and genuine when you say it.
Exactly. And one more small but useful phrase is, my bad. It's a very informal way of saying, I'm sorry, among friends. For example, if you forget to bring your friend's book, you can say, oh, my bad. I'll bring it tomorrow. It's casual, fun, and common in spoken English.
Good one. That's very natural in friendly situations. Now, for excuse me, let's give some practical examples too. Imagine you're on a crowded train and you want to get off. You can say, excuse me, can I get through, please, or simply, excuse me, please. That's polite and effective.
Yes, and another example. If you're in a restaurant and want to call the waiter, you can say, excuse me, with a gentle tone. But never shout or wave your hand too much, that can seem rude. Just a polite, excuse me, is enough to get attention.
And if you sneeze, you can also say, excuse me. That's another common use. For example, achoo. Excuse me. It's a polite way to acknowledge that you made a small interruption.
Yes, and here's one more. If you accidentally walk in front of someone, or if you want to ask them to move slightly, you can say, excuse me, sorry, with a soft tone. British people often combine the two, sorry, excuse me, to sound extra polite, especially in busy public places.
That's so true. It's almost like second nature for British people to say both together. It shows you're being gentle and respectful.
Exactly. And one last detail learners might find useful, the word pardon. It's similar to excuse me, but it's a bit more formal or old-fashioned. You might hear, pardon me, or I beg your pardon, when someone didn't hear something or wants to sound very polite.
Yes, pardon is less common in casual conversation today, but it's still polite. For example, if you didn't hear someone clearly, you can say, pardon, instead of what. It sounds gentle and respectful.
Right. So, between sorry, excuse me, and pardon, you can choose the right one depending on the moment. For example, sorry, when you did something wrong, excuse me, when you want to get attention or pass, and pardon, when you didn't hear something.
That's a perfect summary, and if learners practice these small differences, their English will sound much more natural and polite. It's not only about grammar or vocabulary, it's about communication and how you make others feel when you speak.
Yes, absolutely. And what's beautiful about English politeness is that it's simple. Just a few words, said kindly, can change the whole tone of a conversation. Whether you're thanking someone, apologizing, or asking politely, these phrases help you build good relationships and make conversations smoother. I think we've covered a lot today. From saying, thank you, in different ways, to apologizing sincerely, and using, excuse me, naturally in daily situations. These small phrases may look simple, but they have such a big impact on how polite and confident you sound in English.
Exactly. Politeness in English isn't about using complicated words. It's about using the right words with the right tone. Saying things like, I really appreciate it, I'm so sorry about that, or, excuse me, could you help me please, shows kindness, and that's something people notice and respect.
Yes, and when learners practice these small phrases often, they start to come out naturally, just like native speakers. You don't even need to think too much about it. It becomes part of your daily speaking habit.
So, wherever you are, in class, at a cafe, or traveling abroad, try to use these polite expressions. The more you use them, the more confident and friendly your English will sound.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us today on the British Accent Podcast.
We hope today's episode helped you understand how to say thank you, sorry, and excuse me in a natural and polite way.
Keep practicing, keep improving, and remember, politeness never goes out of style.
Until next time, see you soon, and keep learning with us on the British Accent Podcast.